My name's Jade.
My name's Lauren.
And today we're going to be talking about parenting and coaching, kind of going off of my last video that was posted on here, how parental interference affects athletes. This is Lauren, who has been affected.
Two people sitting out here right now have been affected by parenting and coaching.
So what are we really talking about here?
Within the realm of coaching and parenting should be two separate things. And both of those things have structure, but nowadays there seems to be like a overlap, right? Like where parenting become a part of coaching, and so they want to coach their child, but they really should just be a parent. And so it's like a lot of back and forth.
Today we're going to focus on good coaches. If we want a video on how to spot a good coach, that may be a whole separate video. This is something that we've seen often in our small town. And me and Lauren were in high school 6 to 8 years ago, and we're still seeing the same patterns, which is really sad and unfortunate. I think there's just unrealistic expectations from coaches, and there's also an unrealistic expectations from kids when they're placed in certain environments. So first we're going to talk about what the effects are of this disconnect between the parents and the coaches. This disconnect can cause less opportunities for your child. For one.
So I think that especially nowadays, right? Like I was in the college circle like 8 years ago. So even now with like NIL deals, the environment of college and D1 is very different. But I know that back in the day, whenever college coaches were talking or thinking about prospective athletes, it was always with the other coach or with a recruiter. Like it really never was a parent's role to be talking to these college coaches. It's really a coach-to-coach conversation or a recruiter-to-a-coach conversation. And so whenever you decide to mix those roles, like as a parent talking to like a certain school, I think that one, it makes your kid less inclined to go, at least for me. And then I also think that it lessens the opportunities because nowadays coaches are going to be like, I don't want to deal with a parent. And they cannot deal with parents now. They can go to JUCOs, they can get transfers. Like there are so many other opportunities for these colleges to get what they want. I would say overstepping the bounds between the parent and coach role, it can get really, really bad.
Loss of passion.
Yes.
For the athlete. This is another effect of when parents start to interfere with the coaching aspect of things. Loss of passion because the child feels pressured or they feel like maybe they're not understood.
I think that as a parent, right?
We're not parents, by the way.
We're not parents. I will never assume to know the idea of a parent. But I think as parents that you want what's best for your child. But if you've never participated in the sport or if you have never gone to where your child wants to go, I think there's a lot of trust that needs to be given over to the coach and the child in order to do that. That is brave of the parent, right? Because that's a let go of, like, I guess, control over your child. If you have a good coach, you know what's best for your kid, you can let that happen and not interfere with their development.
Allowing a kid to have a good relationship with their coach is a huge amount of trust, but it honestly will better your relationship with your kid. So what are the real expectations between the coaching and parenting relationship and what we expect as an athlete?
As a kid, plain and simple, I expect my parent to be my parent and my coach to be my coach. I think that's it. I think that my coach is involved in my training. I think that he is involved in like development of me as an athlete. I think that there should be enough trust there that I'm able to communicate either like injuries or like certain feelings about certain things along the development, and we can have like conversations about that. If you have a good coach, all of these are possible. And I think as a parent, that you are parenting your kid, you're providing for them, you are giving them emotional support. I think that checking in with your child along the way to like, hey, like, how are you feeling about the sport? But not in terms of like involving yourself too heavily with it. The parent will parent and the coach will coach, and the athlete is able to get different things out of those relationships. And I think both of them are important. Very big note, as a kid, I never thought that my coach was like my parent. Like I never thought connect those dots. I always thought that my parent was my parent and my coach was my coach. That sometimes parents will see their kids interacting with their coaches that they trust and think that they might be, I don't know, taking away from them as a parent, and that's just not the case. That's not how the child is seeing that relationship.
If you want the best for your child, then keeping that relationship separate, like that's their coach, I'm the parent, understanding that is super important. And that is what is going to give the child the support they need to accomplish what they need to. When you bring in a parent, a figure that the child looks up to, and also a coach, another figure that the child looks up to, and you bring this mess to them, they now have to navigate that while still trying to perform. And I don't know what we expect to happen, but it's not a good performance, that's for sure. What frustrates me is that there's a lot of disappointment when the kid does not meet those goals, but they were not in a system. Their parents were not consistently supporting them. Parents aren't giving them the correct nutrition. They're not focused on the things that parents need to focus on. And when the kid, we've seen it so many times that it's almost sickening. It is sickening that the amount of times that we've seen athletes just be kind of left out to dry because they didn't meet a parent's expectations of performance. And it becomes their fault. It doesn't become the parent's fault. This athlete is 16 or 17. If they're going to college, 17 or 18. Still a kid and first trying to navigate how to be an adult.
As a kid in that position, you need to understand, especially in a small town, right, that this is not set up for you. Like the environment and the place that you're in is not designed to put you into the place that you want it to be. If you're looking for, like, you know, D1, something greater, you know, it's not meant for that. It's meant for coach egos. It's meant for parent applauses. It's meant for, you know, banquets that, you know, you look good on paper, but then whenever you turn 18, it's very high to dry. You need to be aware of that. If you go to any big city in any state, they have programs like she was talking about, like systems in place. Whenever I was growing up, I didn't really understand that my environment had like influenced me so greatly. But whenever I was in the system with Grit and like they provided structure for me, they provided, you know, something I can keep consistent with, and that helped me get my D1 scholarship, I realized like, oh wow, like I have something here that not a lot of other people do.
For one, trusting the coach. And that is, I'm sure it's harder than it looks to be a parent. Well, I don't know personally because I'm not a parent, but I've seen parents and see how hard, and I can't imagine how hard it must be to trust somebody else with your child. But that's just what you're going to have to do.
Yeah.
If you want them to go to a new level in sports, you have to be okay with not being the captain of the ship. And you're not anyway, neither is the coach. The athlete is the captain of the ship and will ultimately be the one who decides whether that ship takes off or not. But you can definitely interfere. You don't need to be the coach. You don't need to be specialized in the sport. You don't need to even know a lot about the sport. You just need to be there for the kid. You got to give the coach time. And I think if the coach has already provided results with other athletes, it's much easier to trust that coach. Also, if the child trusts the coach, that is really huge. Because I think as an athlete, trust is the biggest thing. And you have to trust your coach's philosophies. You have to trust his programs and his or hers. Our coach is a man. I mean, we also have a woman coach, but
Oh, man.
you have to trust their philosophies and you have to trust their programs and that it will get you to that level.
Again, this is for a good coach, right? We're not saying like you should trust any coach, but if your kid has trust in it, you can see that they have results. That's a good coach. I think that in small towns, we love to just, you know, have our friend from, like, I don't know, tennis practice be teaching our kids, and they have no knowledge about what's actually supposed to go on in the sport, and then we wonder why they don't do great. So just make sure that your kid has a good coach. Your child, if the parent trusts the child, you will have a better relationship with your child. You not trusting your kid is affecting your relationship with your child. If you are interfering with the coach, let's say that your child trusts, then that brings like a level of hesitation within the child. Like, are they seeing something that I don't? Like, why is my parent getting involved in this? Like, I don't understand because I trust this person. And so it leaves a level of untrust if you don't trust your kid. So I promise you, your relationship with your child will be better if you trust them.
Last thing we're going to touch on is the parent's role in this whole thing, because they do have a role and it's really important. And it's not a role that a coach can make up for, and we both have experienced it. The role is to invest in the kids' emotional world, support them by paying for their practices, paying for the coach, paying for clothes, paying for gear, paying for nutrition, the proper nutrition. Though that is the investment of the parent that is needed for the kid to achieve the goal. Because a lot of parents we've seen have tried to step into coaching role, they ignore those roles because they're so busy trying to be the coach that they're not investing in what really matters. They need support from both sides. They need support from their coach in the athletic realm, and they need even more support from their parents in the emotional realm. I think emotional realm is parents' responsibility.
Yes.
It is not coach's responsibility to handle a kid's emotions all the time. Yes, they're going to work with it because it's sports and emotions come up. They shouldn't be talking to the kids about things that parents should be talking about with them.
And if you don't focus on the emotions, everything else will fall. Like, I think that I had great support materially, right? Like, I always had enough shoes. My parents were gracious enough to like help me follow a nutrition program. Like, I had a lot of these things, but I think that the emotional side was lacking because there was a lot of like turmoil within, like, again, the coach parent relationship. And so if you don't have that emotional realm, all the other parts are going to suffer because of it. Focus on the emotional first and everything else will happen. And also, you need to invest in your child, okay? And I mean like invest. You've never heard a story where their parents didn't sacrifice something, or you heard that their mother or father had worked 2 jobs or something of that nature. In the grand scheme of things, what are you willing to pay or sacrifice for your child to have a better life?
We're going to wrap up this video with that because I think we've left y'all with enough to chew on.
Yes.
Drop comments if you have questions or if you want to hear us dive deeper into any of these other topics.
Bye.
Bye.